Are you going to play that video or whatever?
Ah, no, fucking had
They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Well, here we are, everybody. We're a man down and really a man and a half down. And also, I'm in real bad shape, too. We're in shambles over here at the WellRED podcast this week. Welcome back. Hope you're ready for your hour of entertainment. It's going to be coming at you fast and furious this week. Drew is absent. He's apparently his computer exploded and his phone is dead, as often happens in these trying technological times of ours. Cho is with me in body and spirit, but not in voice, really. Cho, let him know what's going on.
No,
did y'all hear that? Could you even hear that? Can you hear him?
I think my microphone is good enough for them to hear me, but it sounds really bad.
He's not method acting as like a sensual romance novel narrator or something like that. He just can't talk. So it's good. It's a good affliction to have when you're going to record a podcast.
Radio show.
Yeah, right. Yes. Also, you think that's going to be better by tomorrow? Because we have POA tomorrow.
Here's what I'm thinking. So I was thinking that I was just going to come on here and tell you two motherfuckers, hey, this is what I sound like.
Yeah.
Bye. See ya, enjoy, record, tell me when you're done.
Right.
But Drew's a piece of fucking shit, and he lives in a fucking trailer park with a bunch of dumbasses. So, of course, that can't fucking happen, right? So, the only thing I can think is like, dude, tomorrow, you know what I'm going to do? Take 90 fucking milligrams of amphetamines and drink fucking whiskey like a pirate. And that'll do it.
Pirates prefer rum, but that will be interesting. I mean, I will tell you, you probably had this experience before too, but I, one time, cause I'm dumb as fuck and everything, obviously. And we started like touring heavily and I just went out and just was going out and doing 45 minutes or whatever of stand up every night. And we're doing a lot of shows, multiple shows a night, sometimes everything else. And my voice started fucking up on me. And like people at the venues and the clubs and stuff would be like, well, what are you doing for that? And I would be like, what are you talking about? What, you can do things for that? What does that mean? I was like, my voice just don't hit. I just got to have a not hitting voice now. And they were like, no, there's things you should be taking care of your voice if you use it professionally. Like there's exercises and warm-ups you can do. There's teas specifically for that you could drink and home remedies and all this stuff. And I was like, well, it's the first time hearing of that. One time, this is what I'm getting to. I went to I was doing a thing for Attention Media as we used to do. Right. And I was doing a series for them and we were going to shoot the whole series in one day. And I came back from one of those runs and I had lost my voice on the run. I got back on Monday. We were supposed to film this on Tuesday in Hollywood. And I get there on Tuesday and I told them beforehand, I was like, look, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen, but my voice is fucked. I sound like, I sound a little bit better than you do, but it was still pretty bad. And they were like, well, and I told them, I was like, I'm down to try to push through it, and they were like, well, we are too, because we got a schedule. So let's give it a shot. And I went there and we tried, they made some tea and we did some stuff or whatever. And it's like, and nothing was really working. And this is their job. They work at this, it's a startup, but they work there and it's the daytime and it finally, it was like everybody was dancing around getting a bottle of whiskey, right?
Yeah.
But like nothing was like working and we all wanted to get it done. And I was like, I mean, shit, it's worth a shot, right? And they were like, yeah. So somebody went and bought a bottle of whiskey and brought it in there. And I'll be damned. That fixed it right up pretty much immediately. Now it came back later with a vengeance, obviously.
But that doesn't matter.
Right. But
see, so the issue that I'm having is that I know that would work, and I know that would work right now, right?
Yeah.
But I would never heal. I would just keep fucking doing that.
Yes.
Like what I need to do is not talk, drink a bunch of tea, stop drinking milk, fucking, my good personal friend Jennifer Holiday, correct?
Yeah.
From Dreamgirls or whatever. She hasn't had dairy products in like 35 goddamn years because she's a professional singer, and she's like, yeah, I care about my voice, and I'm like, me and you, we won't even take Sudafed on the road. We're just like, guess it don't hit.
Yeah. You one way you could maybe make a hit is you could do a cover of the Whisper song by Yin Yang Twins.
That's true.
Right.
Hey, how you doing, liberal queers? Let me whisper in your ear. Tell me some stuff that Democrats don't want to hear. Like we fucking suck at politics. We ain't gonna win. Everybody gonna die. Planes don't hit. Whatever. That's all I got.
Yeah, there you go.
Dude, those motherfuckers are so funny. Like, they're so funny.
The Yin Yang Twins?
Yes. Dude.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, I think sometimes you forget because it's just like, oh yeah, they got good shake your ass music. But it's like,
Right.
but it's like, no, but also like if you're trying to laugh your ass off, they also real funny.
Well, again, it was just, a different time. But I mean, I guess, Trump's trying to bring that time back, I guess. But
you would think, I thought comedy was coming back.
Right.
But all the news today is about fuck Tom Hanks for telling a joke on Saturday Night Live. I can't believe he did this racist character, which by the way was a character he did like what fucking 8 years ago. Did you see this?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I knew that the SNL 50 had happened, but I ain't seen literally nothing from it.
He brought back Doug from Black Jeopardy.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Everybody loved that. I thought
everybody loved that. Well, they brought it back, and it wasn't even like they changed it that much. And they were like, "Oh my God, he's they have this white guy with a MAGA hat acting like he won't shake hands with a black guy." And it's like, hold on, get the racist joke funny. It's not that he don't want to shake hands with a black guy. It's that he's afraid the black guy's gonna rob him. Okay, that's funny and should hit for y'all, right? But no, because they say Tom Hanks for some reason represents every Trump supporter, even though Keenan doesn't represent every black person. It's very weird. It's very telling that they're upset about it because it's like, I usually don't get upset about things unless I know they about me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, to be completely fair to that last statement, you also often interpret many, many things to be about you, and then proceed to get upset about those things.
That's very true. That's fair.
We're talking about just day-to-day life stuff, though, not like performances and whatnot. It's funny and not surprising this has happened.
I'm saying when somebody talks about blue-haired, insane liberals, I'm like, they ain't talking about me.
Yeah,
that ain't me. I don't get mad.
Yeah.
I don't care.
It's funny that this has come up again already because last week you were texting me yesterday some stuff that your buddy had sent you, I guess, some screenshots of early last week. I went on Pierce Morgan's show, which is like political Jerry Springer or whatever. And it's one of those, I'm not really into that whole thing at all.
It's so stupid.
But
I wanted you to go.
But I also can't say no to stuff.
Of course not. Your career's in no position.
Right,
Your career's in no position.
So no to anything. Yes.
No one is calling but Pierce Morgan.
But Pierce Morgan, yes.
The fucking phone.
So I went and did it, and one of the things that he talked specifically to me about, and it hit for me, I was glad because I felt like I was ready for it, but like right before that happened, like last weekend, Chelsea Handler, I guess, hosted like the Critics' Choice, some award show, but not the Oscars,
right,
or the Golden Globes or Emmys. I don't think. I think it was one of the lesser known, which makes it funnier in my opinion. But she had hosted that, and she said on there,
watches.
Right, it was the Critics' Choice Awards. So, like, again, that makes it funnier to me because it's like, who's paying attention to that anyway?
Who gives a fuck about the critics or their choices?
But on that, while hosting that, during her monologue, making various jokes, she was like, I don't remember how she put it. And also, I would not have even have gotten this joke if I didn't have the other context because I'd never seen or heard of this movie. There's a movie called Honora, right? Yeah, I didn't know either. It's one of those
animated.
I don't think so. It's one of those critical darling.
I fucking hate those now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I have a child and I don't have to pretend
Well, apparently it ended up winning Best Picture at said Critics' Choice Awards, but I think it's about a. So she said something like, I mean, I'm gonna get it wrong, but it was something like, "It's a great year for representation in media. You had something for some people. You had Amelia Perez for the trans community, and you had Honora for Melania Trump." Right? That's what she said. Yeah. Now, I didn't know because I don't know anything about that movie, but apparently Honora is about prostitutes, right? Or at least a prostitute, right? Again, I wouldn't even have got it, but that's what she said. So one of the things they asked me about in that show was that, and they're like, he and the conservatives are like incensed about it, right? It's so disrespectful to say about a first lady, and it's just like something. It's like, can you imagine someone saying something like that about like a Democratic first lady in that kind of setting or whatever? And I started.
Hillary Clinton's a fucking cunt. I don't know if this setting is what you're talking about. Yeah. Fuck her. I hope she dies in one of these Delta planes.
I said, don't get me started on the Delta planes crashing. As a Diamond Medallion Million Miler, I'm pretty concerned about that. But anyway, I started off by saying, it's like, well, as a comedian, I can tell you most comedians would agree that conservatives tend to be very thin-skinned and easily offended. They're not good at taking jokes. They're overly sensitive, if you ask me. And me, as a comedian, I'm a huge free speech advocate. I believe in the First Amendment, and I think you should be able to make jokes and not be, persecuted for it or whatever else. And then he was like, there's got to be, that list of logical fallacies that they have where it's like, confirmation bias, the Gish Gallop, straw man argument, whatever. Yeah. I'm assuming this has to be on there. I just don't know what it's called, or if it isn't, it should be. But what he then started doing was he was like, he so narrowly defined his like gotcha that it was like, he was like, okay, but give me an example of a time that a conservative comedian made a joke like that about a Democratic first lady on a national awards show or whatever. And I was like, well, I don't know about that, but people said all kinds of shit about Michelle Obama for years or whatever. And he was like, okay, and he kept naming those same three criteria. And I was like, I can't tell you a specific example of that.
God damn it. Was it Tim Allen at the Emmys?
What are you doing?
I can't talk.
He can't talk.
I've been waiting on you.
Yeah, that's what I texted you, that he can't talk. He's lost his voice, like legitimately. But
I thought it was
Drew is here. No. Drew is here, everybody. But
I don't know how, but it's intolerable.
I know. I don't want to be here.
Stop it. Like, it's awful. Like, you would think if somebody was, you know what I mean, like quieter is better.
Yeah. He did leave, but I don't know how. Whatever, we'll figure that out. I think he left. He just walked away from the computer. He's the host, so I'm concerned about it uploading, but I'm sure he's got a plan for that.
I'll message him while you continue.
Although he will have to turn it off, though. But anyway, whatever. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, I was saying that because he brought up that Tom Hanks is getting shit on today. Did you know that? Because I did not know that.
Because he played a MAGA character who wouldn't touch a black person?
Yes, but it's that he just told me all this. I didn't know any of it. But the MAGA character is a reprisal of that character from that very popular sketch that he did years ago, the Black Jeopardy sketch or whatever, that everybody loved at the time. And now he's redone it, and now they're like, yeah, it's racist against MAGAs or whatever. And it's like so anyway, then I was talking about how just the week before that Chelsea Handler shit had happened, and he asked me about it on Piers Morgan, and it's just the whole, I mean, it's been pointed out a million times, but it's just so funny when that, everyone at this point everybody who isn't them realizes that the people that talk about like snowflakes and, the super sensitive left and all that shit, it's like no one is more hair trigger easily offended than conservatives are. Like, as long as you're being openly racist or whatever, they're like, yeah, you should be able to say whatever you want. But if you start making like Jesus jokes or a really relatively tame Melania Trump joke, apparently, or whatever, then they get furious.
But it's also like if you get rid of, they announced that thing, any scholarships that help black or brown people are now gone. And like, I understand that you can make an argument that that's not racist, not one I agree with, but I understand they exist. But then to like hear a joke about MAGA being racist and go, where are you getting that from? Is just genuinely insane. Like, again, you may not think that move is racist, but you pull that move and then that joke comes up and you go, what? I know hindsight's 2020. I'm not trying to like money quarterback you, but I think what I'd like to see, and genuinely, you're one of the people who could do it, both in terms of getting the opportunity to be in a space with Pierce Morgan, but then also get asked a question like that, and then like your character or whatever, both the one you play on the internet and your character. I wish you'd just be like, I don't know, man. I think you guys should quit being pussies. This is a boring conversation, Pierce. You know, like genuinely, like no offense to you, big guy, but like what?
Yeah.
But like, let's make a list of things we should be discussing about our country, whether it be at the international or national level at this exact moment. Is this it? The awards show? And people being a pussy about it?
Yeah, I didn't call him a pussy, and I should have, but I was trying to. I mean, I was saying it's like a version of it's bullshit that you shouldn't get offended by any jokes or whatever. And I kept bringing up the First Amendment and all this, and then the two conservative women, it was two liberal cracker dudes, me and another white honky libtard, and then two women conservatives, one of which was black. So they're really making an effort over there with how they structure things for that show. And he asked me first because I'm a comedian, and I said all that. And I feel like because of the way I framed it, maybe they would have said this anyway, but I don't think I believe it. The two conservative women, when he got to them, both were like, well, actually, I agree with Trae. I also think the First Amendment is good.
Hell yeah, dude.
I felt like it kind of disarmed him a little bit. But anyway,
that also undercuts what I was going to finish with, which was like, we keep arguing logic with these people, and it's like, that is the issue. And I do think that's oftentimes the truth, but I'm glad that I was wrong this time.
Yeah. Corey is still here in the chat, or at least he was a few minutes ago. And I think he was talking about the old Tom Hanks case. He just sent a message to the chat in all caps that says, conservatives loved it. My mom loved it. I think he's talking about the Tom Hanks thing, which everybody loved it.
His mom's not watching Pierce.
Yeah, so he's still here. Yeah, no, he's talking about the Tom Hanks thing, but he said, I'm still here. I'm well enough to
This is worse than whispering. Now we're just talking
about Tom Hanks. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. I'm going to keep up. If he chimes in every now and then, it might hit for people. But I have a thing that I've been avoiding telling you guys in the group chat for a minute because I'm so embarrassed by how pathetic it is, but I'm going to say it in front of everybody. All right, so it's going to be disappointing after that preamble. I've just really been hating myself for this. I really, really fucked. I mentioned it very briefly last week, right after it happened, that I had got those new shoes and gone for a run.
Yeah, and
I was like, God damn, my legs hurt today. Yeah, they've been fucked up ever since.
Have you been to the doctor?
I've been limping. So fucking Katie keeps and everything I've Googled seems to support it. I'm doing the WebMD thing, whatever as you do. But it's like, yeah, it's, you got really bad shin splints and led to inflammation, which is still there. And there's nothing they can do for it. And she's got a friend who's like a exercise or what's the word? Like I don't know. Kinesiologist or something like that. And she told her friend, and her friend said like, yeah, they can't. All they're going to do is tell them to rest them and ice them and all that stuff, which I've been doing ever since. But I had shows this weekend, dude. I was limping all over the airport. I've been just laid up on the couch with ice packs on my knees and shit. It's like I'm 78 instead of 38. And I just keep going back to literally all I did was I went for a jog. And I've been basically out of commission for a week since. And it's like, I just hate.
It's worth going to what Corey said, which is many fans came up to him when we were at the Truckers weekend saying Trae's really going to give himself bone spurs so he don't have to tell his wife she was right. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm misremembering. No, I'm remembering it now. I got it. Yeah, that is what's happening.
Yeah.
She told you them things were bullshit, not to go do them.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. I brought this up last week by being like, don't y'all hate it when your wife turns out to have been right about something? I already acknowledged that she was right. But it's just a confluence of dumb things in addition to the new shoes. I was trying to go harder that day on purpose than I had previously. My legs started hurting early, and I was like, oh, I know you just push through that. That's what you do.
You do David Goggins? Is that his name?
I guess. Now, I don't.
You made
so
many mistakes.
I don't have that dude's voice in my head because I don't listen to him. I do know who he is, but I didn't do it for David Goggins reasons. I literally am just dumb and fat enough that I was like, when my legs started hurting while I was running, I was like, well, this is just because I'm not used to it. I'll just push through it and it'll be fine. And
That's David Goggins. All of that, is what I meant. Push through.
No, I know that's what you meant, but I just want people to know it's not because of David Goggins. It's because I'm just stupid and fat and dumb and don't hit. And it just so all of that just made it 10 times worse. Because the other thing is, even when it was happening, and even when I got done, I was like limping back home. I was like, I know I've heard of shin splints. I know it's a thing. At that point in time, I thought they were like getting a cramp. That's what I thought shin splints were. I thought it was like, this happens. I'll go home. I'll chill out for a couple hours, and it'll go, if that, and it'll go away. It's like a cramp. It sucks for a minute, but then it goes away. No, they can last in some form for like weeks or months. Now, the way that's supposed to work is that when I say last for weeks, you shouldn't feel it when walking around or just sitting. It's if you try to go run again, they'll flare back up. So just don't go for a run.
Are you on a week?
I'm at a week now. The stuff that I read said that like 3 to 7 days, and it is getting better, but it's been rough.
Man, I'm sorry, but this rules.
It sucks. That does not roll.
But it's also like, I get tickled at futility. Yeah. And it's like the futility of being our age and trying to be in shape and also go.
Right.
It's your wife's advice. It's just like, this is just an exercise in futility. Ironically, you were trying to exercise literally, and all you did was exercise futility.
Yes, indeed. But I've read all the things where it's like when it could be something that's worse or more serious and what those things are and what they feel like. And I don't match any of that shit. It seems like textbook inflammation or whatever in the way that it works. But Corey said, it sounds extra silly because of how my throat is, but I'm laughing very hard at Trae's misfortune. Yeah, I knew it would hit for y'all and everybody. That's why I meant to start with it, and then at the beginning of the show, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to bring it up. I'm going to continue to hide this from the world and everybody. And then for some reason, I decided to say it anyway. But, I don't hit. Because it's like, I don't think I'm going to go. I think I'm running just – I said last week, running didn't hit for me. And then I was like, I'm going to get into it now. Kind of maybe it does hit. Then this happened. It's like, no more running. I'm just getting my fat ass back on the bike where I belong.
Running don't hit. If you ever move on from the bike, you got to go to a pool.
Right. But I got to go to a place for that.
Sure. Running's over is all I'm
really don't like going to a place. No, I know. Yeah.
Warm up. You can run to warm up, run to like, I'm on vacation for a week. How am I going to get my heart rate up? But to run to stay in shape, because you need to run like an hour, or 30 minutes. Yeah, you're too old for that, brother.
Yeah, or on a treadmill, but treadmills don't hit because it's like that's the other thing. I was on concrete. That's another problem. Like concrete or asphalt and sidewalks and that shit. It hurts. It's worse.
Can you run on a treadmill?
No, no, not really. I don't like it because it's
insane.
It's boring. It's
insane. It's a thing insane people do. Like if that wasn't already a part of our culture and someone just introduced it and you looked at it for a minute, everyone would be like, "What is wrong with this person?"
Cho just said, "I love treadmills." I find that dubious.
That's not a cookie brand, Cho. It's a thing you get on.
I was about to say, I know that Cho. I know that you be walking. He said, "Oh, never mind." Okay. Treadmill farms.
Dude, I texted him. So we were in Athens all weekend. I was there from Wednesday on. I saw the truckers every night, but the last night, of course, that was the best night, according to literally everyone, including Patterson. Me and Corey had a show on Sunday. Thanks to everybody who came out. I texted Corey, I think on Thursday, and was like, I was pretty down the shroom hole. I was feeling really good. I had a great night. The show was incredible. And I was texting Corey, and I said something like, this is even so much more fun than I remembered it being. It's unbelievable we get to do this or whatever. Then on Saturday, he was like, I can't, hey, I'll see you tonight, whatever. I was like, I'm on kid duty. Not going to be there, meaning the concert. And then I took Roscoe over backstage to meet everybody just briefly. And he was like, "What the fuck, dude? You're here?" And I was like, "Oh, I was for a second." I was like, I didn't think you were going to be here today." I was like, "What? What are you even talking about?" So suffice to say, with the treadmill thing, you never know what you're communicating with Corey in person or face to face. When it's via messages, as it is now, there's too much going to be lost in translation.
Yes, indeed. That so that all hit. I imagine.
Man, I thought it was incredible. like on just here's like an example. On Friday, Patterson played a new song and he messed it up, and he was like, afterwards, I was like, "Man, great show," and he's like, "Oh, that was as you do as a performer." And I was thinking that night, I was like, "Man, if that's the worst thing that I see or that happens this weekend," I mean, for me, it was one of the best weekends I've had in a year or three. Our show, Corey and I's show, went great. We were at this little venue called Hendershots. On Sunday, it's hard to get a venue to let you play in Athens because you're not allowed to sell beer unless your sales are 50% food. He's defending himself, and you're letting.
Yeah, Corey says, "I'm so fucking furious that Drew left out so much goddamn context, and I'm too ill to jump on here and scream at him. He's done this on purpose, by the way. Don't think I don't.
You know what? No, I'll read it.
That.
Type it out, and I'll read it. I didn't leave any context out. I wasn't trying to make you look bad. I was just saying your communication skills are lacking. If I am actually the one with poor communication skills, let's hear it.
Eat my ass." So I think this is fun. I think that people.
He was hitting me with like, "What the fuck, dude? I thought you weren't here." And I was like, "No, I've been here. I told you that. Go back and look." And he was like, "Oh, my bad." So if I'm wrong, then why did he say, "Oh, my bad"? All I'm saying is that communicating with you via written form, it doesn't always work. And I think you're proving me right because you are screaming at me to get ass cancer when all I'm doing is relaying the story. Anyway, our show was rad. Here's how rad Athens is, if you catch it at the right time or whatever. And I've had many magical nights and moments in Athens. AIDS, hope Drew has it. That's Corey's new movie. I went to a bar after our show that does serve food. It's the only way they can be open on a Sunday. And then Patterson was like, "I'm going over there with Dave." And he was pointing at Dave Barbie. Dave Barbie is their longtime producer. He's in the band Sugar. He worked with REM. He's, behind the scenes a big deal or whatever, and a great guy. He's always been friendly to us. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." I invited some of the other truckers. They're like, "We don't know if we're going to get there." I get there. I see Patterson at a table that's full. But some of my friends are right beside him. So I'm like, whatever, I'll just sit here. And then Patterson comes and talks to me, and then they call him back over for a picture. And I take the picture just to there's a couple of my friends and whoever. It was Patterson Hood and Dave Barbie. I don't remember his name. Something Shelley of the band Sonic Youth. Michael Stipe of REM.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Abe Partridge was probably the least famous person. He's someone I wouldn't know by his look, but back when Bitter Southerner first started doing those year-end lists, he had an album I was obsessed with. Actually, I don't know what he looks like because he's a cartoon on his own album. Anyway, that was like my last night in Athens. It was fucking Michael Stipe and then a slew of other world-class hitters. Michael Stipe, by the way, I would describe him as effervescent.
Okay. Go on.
He would kind of, it's bubbly, like he just floating. Yeah. I bet he weighed 80 pounds, but like a healthy 80 pounds.
Right, yeah.
And it looked like he was wearing a blanket that had been cut into.
Super vegan, right?
Yeah, see, if he's
elevated plane of existence level of vegan.
Yeah. Like even if he eats steak, the steak was vegan.
Yeah.
The cow.
Because he ate it. Yeah, right.
It was effervescent, man. Just floating around with, some twink, if I'm honest with you.
Corey just pointed out all cows are vegan.
They're vegetarian.
Yeah.
Throw the other word in there, he called me. You can't bring the group. You can't bring. See, I told you, you're poor at written communication. You're texting like this is a group thread, but this is the podcast. You can't just type out the R word and then we're going to censor you for you. This isn't a group chat, Corey. It's a. We already did. You see how bad it is here?
Yeah. He's okay. He said all cows are vegan. Say that I said I don't give a fuck. I can't believe he's being overly defensive. So this hits. I think we should just do this every now and then. That's my opinion. I'm glad you guys
completely disagree. This is worse than the whispering.
I'm glad that y'all had a good time this weekend. I was in hell. More on that in a minute. But first, this episode is sponsored by Squarespace. That's right. Listen, Squarespace, whether you're just starting out or you're already managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place and on your terms. Now, I'm the type of person that's like, I knew from the very beginning in comedy, just because it's a thing in the world, like I'm going to need a website. If you do any kind of thing in this world, you know you need a website. But I was like, I completely lack the capacity to manage any kind of website situation. But then Squarespace showed me that that's not true. Anybody, even an idiot as dumb as me, and I'm one of the dumbest idiots alive. I don't know if you heard what I said about my legs earlier, but I'm very stupid. Even someone as stupid as me can make a website and an online business hit with Squarespace. All right. They've got a lot of great features, just loaded up with features, everybody. They got the Fluid Engine, which is a next generation website design system from Squarespace. And with it, it's never been easier for anyone to unlock unbreakable creativity. You can start with a best in class website template, and then you customize every design detail with reimagined drag and drop technology for desktop or mobile. You can stretch your imagination online with Fluid Engine built in and ready to go on any new Squarespace site. So you start with these templates that already look good, and then you can tailor them to your own whims. We've all got whims. Make your whims hit with Squarespace. If you sell merch like we do, you can sell custom merch and create a passive income stream that engages your audience and scales your brand using Squarespace. You can design your products. You got production, inventory, and shipping are all handled for you, saving you time and money. It couldn't be easier. You ain't got time to box up shirts and draw like logos for them and stuff. I know I don't. I also lack the capacity. Squarespace can handle all that for you. They've also got a tremendous asset library. You can upload, organize, and access all your content from just one place. With the new asset library, you're able to manage all your files from one central hub and use them across the Squarespace platform. They've got a lot of other great features too. Too many to really discuss here, so you need to check it out to find out for yourself. So head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, go to www.squarespace.com/WellRED. That's WellRED, of course, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/WellRED to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Squarespace, they hit. We appreciate them sponsoring the podcast. Yeah, I'm back. So, yes, while you guys were hitting harder than you've ever hit before, I was just filled with misery and rage and futility because I couldn't walk anywhere without limping terribly or get up and down steps or none of that. I was like, I tried to make it funny to the audience by just talking about all this up top, and I somewhat succeeded, but then like adrenaline kicks in when you're on stage. Because I was like, dude, I'm going to have to marinate and sit on the stool the whole time. Like, I'm not going to be able to just stand up there. But adrenaline kicks in, then you're fine. Then after the show, adrenaline wears off, and legs are just on fire. But I just spent the whole time in my hotel room, putting hotel ice in trash bags and placing them on my legs and stuff, and taking all kinds of Advil and hoping to not get swept away by the floods that were besieging Kentucky at that time. I also was in Kentucky where it was flooding heavily, and I had to drive between Louisville and Bowling Green, just torrential downpour the whole way. Thought for a minute we might have to cancel the show because everybody kept getting emergency alerts saying, do not travel. It's not safe to travel anywhere because we're all going to die in a flood. So, yeah, it was a real hitting weekend. I will say Andy Bashir's wife and staff and some of them came to the show in Louisville and hung out afterwards. And very cool because they're fans, it turns out. And, it's mutual. So that part hit. And the shows both hit, and I appreciate everybody that came. But everything around it did not. Meanwhile, it'd be funny to put like a montage or a supercut together of like, me and then y'all, like cutting back and forth between me and y'all over the course of that weekend. But
it's funny you say that because the promoter, who's our buddy Jared, was like, he kept trying to get us to not pay him or whatever. He was like, no, I just wanted to put this together. And we're like, yeah, okay, man. He goes, tell you what, you can pay me next year when we do it again, and we'll make it a tradition. And I said, well, you keep this up, eventually Trae's going to get jealous and have to join us. And he was like, I don't know if I could afford him. Definitely not here at Hendershots or whatever. And I was like, Yeah, he's gonna get real jealous though. You don't know how shit of a weekend he's having in Kentucky right now.
Yeah, it was awful. But it's not the state of Kentucky's fault. But yeah, didn't
No,
hit.
it ruled though. I mean, he reserved seats for the truckers to sit together with their people, and I wasn't paying attention. He just did that on the first 2 rows, which he wouldn't have had to do because no one would have sat there in the first fucking place.
Well, now here's the thing. I say that hits, but if I'm being completely honest, I would not prefer that really.
I didn't prefer it. It was surreal.
Yeah. Having people that you even know, let alone people who like you respect and who hit for you in sight while you're doing a comedy show. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want my little sister in the front row.
Let me ask you this. Mike Cooley, Patterson Hood, who laughed more?
Oh man, that's a tough call. Because you want to say Patterson, but I feel like maybe it's Cooley because
I'm asking
the question.
Yeah, right. It was Cooley, and it was like wow. There were like a few jokes where I was like, "Man, fucking Patterson laughing at that. That's really funny."
Right.
And then there's another times where he would double over, and I was like, "That one, double over on that one."
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing I want to ask you about because I'm fascinated by it every time it comes up, and I think I've sort of talked about this before, so sorry if it's repetitive, but I think and hope it's been a while. Y'all know I've been on Reddit, fucking with Reddit. Every now and then, I get exposed to some YouTube shit through Reddit, right?
Yep.
And it's always just so wild to me realizing there's this whole fucking ecosystem on YouTube of like, for some reason, it's all messy and dramatic. You understand? Like I'm on YouTube and I just do my little thing and nobody else fucks with me and I exist in a bubble on YouTube as I do in
most places. They go after each other.
Which is all the time, and it makes
me wonder. Rapper culture.
It is. It's weird. YouTubers always have drama and beef with each other, and they're always like blowing each other's shit up with like exposing each other, and usually for some pretty wild stuff. And it's always like, I'm just like, man, is everybody? Why does it seem like every big YouTuber is a fucking lunatic? Why does this always happen?
Well, they are fucking lunatics.
I know, but I don't get how or why that, because like we do internet stuff.
Yeah, but you had
I think a lot of podcasters are also lunatics probably, but not on the level YouTubers are. It's just weird to me, but the whole thing is weird where there's whole channels just dedicated to like documenting YouTube drama. Like they're not even active participants. They're like journalists or ESPN TMZ. Talking head analysts, TMZ, but for YouTube drama. And those channels will have millions of fucking subscribers or whatever. It's just wild as hell to me.
But what part is wild to you? Because essentially we're just talking about is the Hollywood machine, but as created by people who had a platform that they could throw their own shit up independently. Mr. Beast is just reality television. There's comedy on there. And then now you're talking about TMZ. Is it just wild to you, the level of it, or how they go after each other, or what?
All of it. Also, just a lot of these people's popularity to begin with, frankly, is another thing that's always wild to me. You know what I mean? It's like I find out I'm like, what? I just don't understand what it even is that they do that has hit for people to begin with, a lot of them. And then how they have massive followings, and then also they're like suing this other guy who also does a thing that I don't fucking understand what it is or how it worked. And I just find it all confounding, is what I'm saying. The whole of YouTube culture, or whatever you want to call it, is just, I'd sooner lasso the moon. It's all Greek to me.
I can't say that I find it all dumbfounding, but I definitely identify with the thing you just said. There's definitely channels on there where I'm like, how? But the document the drama of already popular people, that makes as much sense to me as anything ever has.
They had that with comedy too now? Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. Joke World is one I follow. Right. And I was watching it. I saw a clip today, and I'm not for a lot of what they do, because a lot of what they do seems very well, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I opened with the critique. Maybe I just got self-conscious that people think I'm following Joke World. Sometimes I'm hate watching. But I saw something they posted today that was funny, and I was like, damn, that's the level you got to get to, where people are just doing your clips for you.
I know.
Without you paying them. Like, they're just like, check this out. Isn't it funny when he said that?
because Joke World, because I know who that is too. Some of them are more like focused on drama and shit. I feel like usually, I mean, Joke World does some of that, but he'll watch all these comedy podcasts and he'll take like the funniest clips from each one and put them into a montage together, and it's like it's so easy to see why that hits. And you're right, it's like that should hit, and I think it does hit for the podcasters he does that for as well, because it's just driving more shit to them. It's just like getting them fans while getting himself followers, and it's like seems like a symbiotic relationship, because a lot of these podcasts are hours long. These stupid fucking podcasts all these idiots do are hours long. and
one of them just group chats the whole time.
Yeah, just taking just the hitness parts and putting them together. That's I can see how that's a public service. So, but some of them it's all about, like, dude, the hours and hours of like YouTube documentary coverage of like the downfall of Brandon Schaub or whatever, for example.
He's so fun to hate.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So fun to hate, though. Elephant Graveyard is a guy I follow he's done a lot of different stuff, but he's done some of that.
Is he the one that had the Joe Rogan YouTube video review of his latest that got real big? It was all over Reddit. That's how I saw it. It was on Reddit, like front page of Reddit. Funny. Right. Yes, that guy's another one. I'm saying there's tons of them. It's wild.
Right. Yeah, it's high school stuff, right? Like, it's very strange. And even like getting back to the rap thing, I've joked. I tried to get Caleb Simon to do it because it made him uncomfortable. For years, I told Caleb Simon, I just want you to be my nemesis in comedy. Like, why won't you follow me on the internet? And mostly I would say it to him because I knew he hated it. And I knew he didn't know if I was serious. We've gotten to know each other a little bit more, and he's like come around on joking with me.
Me and Riley Fox used to do that at the Knoxville level. Right. we were fake nemesis in the Knoxville comedy scene.
But people are doing it for real through proxies, though, because there's still a thing in comedy, unlike in rap, where you can't talk shit unless it's like in this like calm, measured. I mean, the Schaub, that's a perfect example for people who don't know, and I'm sure people don't care, but maybe they'll care about the YouTube-ness of this. Schaub had a thing with Bobby Lee, and it was all about Bobby Lee's ex, and Schaub just like not just being really disrespectful or whatever. But they would like on their podcast front face and just be very like measured, but then they would have these proxies, people like you're talking about, making it into a full-on beef, the equivalent of a rap beef. I've kind of wish we're the best shit talkers, other than maybe rappers. Why won't we talk shit? I mean, I think it's because we're afraid it'll make us look petty, small, bitter. Like, it's almost like if you talk shit about someone who the world sees as less famous than you, you look petty. But if you talk shit about someone who the world sees as more famous than you, you look bitter. So I guess I do get that, but I guess I'm taking a very different view than you. I'm almost going like, I get why it exists. I want more of it, but I want it direct. I want to see Tom Papa looking down the barrel of a fucking camera and telling me exactly what he thinks about whoever it is in this business he hates.
Yeah, you know that I feel completely differently on a personal level about that. I have a like I would never kind of approach to
I wouldn't either.
But I don't know. Here, like, the thing you tried to do with Caleb, it just...
Well, I didn't really try. I just kept telling him I wanted to.
Well, just for a fun, like, bit or gag, if we were both in on it type of thing, I would maybe do that with somebody else or whatever, if I thought the idea was, if it hit for me. But, like, just as far as, like, purposely starting, like, a beat, it just depends on how real it all is. Like, if it's, like, if they both understand... If both parties of the beef understand this is hitting for both of us, right? It's mutually beneficial, but also fuck you though. I don't want to do that. That would stress me out, and I would find that upsetting.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I was mostly hitting because I do want to see Tom Papa talk shit, and I thought he was one of the funniest examples. I wouldn't do it either, really. I mean, me, it would be more about the thing. I think it would be more about the thing that I said. I mean, I even feel that when we are talking about someone kind of bigger than comedy, like Chappelle. I mean, I feel like we have the right, and almost we should discuss his specials in the context of them and the stuff he said about trans people. But even then, I'm like, man, it's coming across like I'm like, no matter how I say it, it's coming across like I'm bitter. But then I see there's this guy, I think his name's Giancarlo or maybe Gianmarco. I'll fuck up his last name. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's relatively young. He's starting to like go viral a lot.
Yeah, Ceresi?
Yes.
Gianmarco Gianmarco Soares.
Hey,
I don't. I thought you knew that guy for some reason. I
think Corey knows him.
Oh, okay, all right.
He stays going in, dude.
Yeah, he's funny,
and not in a, but he does it in a way where it doesn't feel petty or whatever. Like someone will be in the zeitgeist, and then he'll just have a take. Anyway, going back to it, I think YouTube's for teenagers for the most part, and I think there's your explanation for most of it.
Yeah, I think that you're right. It's funny because I've learned that lesson myself many times, and then still get fascinated by it. Where it's like almost always the question to the types of the answers to the types of questions I was asking earlier is often it's children or teenagers or whatever,
right?
And that's why it's so weird to me because I'm 38,
right?
And I just don't get it. But yeah, teenagers love drama. It is high school-y. They love drama. I mean, everybody loves drama, or it's like a human thing, fucking rubbernecking to look at a car crash type shit. But especially people of that age, and they just get. And it's also like a lot of it's focused on like the Rogan verse, right? Which is like a huge cultural sphere of influence right now. So it's relevant in that way. And it seems like they've picked, there's like good guys and bad guys. Do you know what I mean? Like Shane hits for everybody, right? And me too. I love Shane. I think he's awesome. And then and then they just rag all over poor Burt, dude. Burt, Burt, we've known, met, and done. It was always such a sweetheart, in my opinion. He gets so much shit from these motherfuckers all the time. Just calling him a fat drunk who's going to die, and it's like, I mean, we do that. We say that to Corey's face, at least, it's just the whole thing is nuts. I wonder sometimes it's like I don't hit hard enough to be on these guys' radar, which I think like hits for me, right? Because I'll sit and I'll think like if in the future, if I just am on YouTube and get some video recommended to me about how fat I'm getting or something, how I'm falling apart at the seams, and someone has documented all the clips and put together a montage showing me exploding and fucking being all sad and injured and pitiful and stuff. It's like Trae Crowder's really letting himself go type thing. Like the people do that. They do that for other people who do what we do, just with a bigger spotlight or whatever than we do, and it's fucking wild.
Well, I'll say two things. One, I don't think they turned on Burt and Tom. They turned on both of them until they started like being that bit Tom started doing about hating poor people, and then eventually Burt came around.
That's definitely what happened with Tom, yeah.
And then, so like to some extent, I feel like they're probably cool with it because it's like, yeah, we knew this was going to be almost like, yeah, this was the plan. Get your name in the algorithm, say something controversial. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's smart from a PR standpoint, but just lame as fuck. Like, it's just lame as fuck. And related to that, and this is easy for me to say, I have different goals than you and a very different personality. But, like, dude, you play theaters and no one makes videos about you getting fat. That's my dream. Like, that's right there. Like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, T-Bone Burnett wants to hang out with you, but like some blood-sucking ghoul who rapes kids but is going to put you in a movie doesn't. That's, for me, yeah. Yeah,
you're right. No, that does hit.
Like, playing Madison Square Garden would be rad in terms of, like, your goals, and you set out to do comedy and you got good and big enough to do it. But then I think about who's done it recently, and other than Burr, I don't respect them very much as comics. They're fine. None of them are bad. Like, we've talked about Schultz before. I think Schultz is a very serviceable stand-up comedian. He has some bits that have made me laugh very hard. But the fact that he makes so much more money than, well, Tom Papa, I bring him up again, who is phenomenal. It's just kind of not for me.
Yeah, well, evidently it's not for me either. But speaking of Burr, he was all over the headlines this week because he said that billionaires should be put down like rabid dogs, and that got picked up all over the place. So very on brand for him, keeping it 100. I mean, especially on that subject. He's been saying that type of shit for as long as I can remember, but it's very particularly relevant at the present moment. So, yeah, he keeps it. He's sort of a shining beacon in the current landscape of comedy that we're all living in and dealing with. You know what I mean? Because he's like, he's totally separate from all that, but still hits for a lot of the same people that those guys hit for. But he clearly don't fuck with it in that way, and he's just again, it just keeps it real while also being one of the best comedians in terms of comedy out there.
Well,
too.
it goes back to what I was just saying too. I mean, I think I'd be happier. I don't know about rather. If you gave me the choice, I think I'd choose Burr. But I think I'd be happier in the position you're in, just in terms of my own personality. But Burr's at this point too, where it's like he's clearly got enough money and esteem and respect in the industry that he doesn't feel like he has to, I guess, dance much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's enough like money and fame or clout or whatever you want to say that's given him this freedom. But then at the same time, he is sort of unknown enough to be that guy.
Right.
Like it's not, we talked about Tom Hanks up top. There's something about someone super rich and famous and powerful doing anything that feels distasteful if they're doing it about people much poorer than them or whatever. Of course, to your point, Burr's not really doing that. He's kind of more doing the Bruce Springsteen thing where he like is the voice of the people. He's not. Bill Burr is not a working class man, but his content always has been in that voice because he used to be, because he came from
it. Right.
Yeah,
which I think is, that's fair.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we've talked about it, but Tyler Mahan Co. really set me on the path of righteousness on this. We say authenticity when in art, all we mean is sincerity. That's all we ever mean. No one gets mad when David Bowie pretends to be from outer space, but there's nothing authentic about that. But he's being sincere as fuck. So, yeah, Bill Burr is a sincere person. And you know what? That happens with cancel culture, too. A lot of times people do or say the wrong thing, and the reason they can make a comeback is everyone can go, yeah, he meant it, and then he realized he was wrong. I mean, Burr is actually the perfect example of that. He's got fucking jokes about hitting women, and then he's got, like, interviews later where he's like, I probably went a little too far. I was just trying to express, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't read.
Yeah, well, that was always how he approached, with all that shit the whole time, his like, caveat to it all was, like, you shouldn't. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm not an expert. I'm just an asshole running his mouth or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you don't, which is fair. And I think so. It's why he's because so many I always felt like one of the central defining characteristics of someone who even wanted to be a comedian or was a comedian was like, you should. I feel like I have an almost pathological aversion to taking pretty much anything what I deem as too seriously. Taking anything too seriously, and it's like that's to me that's a big part of being a comedian. And I feel like, or it was, and now I feel like so much of the comedy world and so many comedians like their image, brand, persona, all that stuff. I'm not saying that wasn't always popular to people at like famous, like ones that were legitimately famous. Of course, had PR teams and all that stuff, but it's just people take themselves very seriously. So many of them are like cool and try very hard to be cool and all that type of shit, and it's just all. I find it all strange. And not in America, at least, there used to always be like an everyman aspect, or you should at least try to pretend to be one for the most part. And that also isn't as much of a part of it anymore for so many people. It's just, I don't know. Shit's just changed a lot, which I guess shit always does. But
well, it's also maybe a semantic question too, because I can totally imagine someone being like, what do you mean you don't take your stuff seriously? You have very serious topics, Trae. But what you're talking about is like, because it's funny, because a lot of people I think who fit what you're talking about would look at what you do and be like, this guy
takes it all very seriously.
No, what they say is like, oh, he's always talking about important stuff. That's not what I do. I'm just a comedian. But they take themselves so seriously. It's like they don't see the forest for the trees type situation. And honestly, I think Burr arrived at where we're at, not on a personal level, but comedically, because he saw his friends who claim not to, like want to pick a side or claim to hate people who like bowed to the left or whatever, suddenly become friends with Elon Musk.
Right.
And it was like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah. That's it. Like I heard Stavros saying the other day something about how like it's a real bad sign for the culture, just the impending death of American culture that he was including himself. He was like that me and a lot of these other comedians play arenas and are this famous and have these followings or in these places. Like that never should have been allowed to happen. And the fact that it is happening, he was like, and it will course correct eventually, but this is all fucking stupid and shouldn't be.
My opening joke is all about how you got to stop listening to comedians.
Right.
The joke's about how I used to have a serious, important job, and because of that, I now know other jobs aren't important. One of them being this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and one of the lines I do, and it's true. This is kind of what I think Bill saw and got very over, and I'm very over it. Is people saying we're the last bastion of free speech,
Right?
And they can't define or spell the word bastion. Like,
Yeah.
you've never said the word bastion in your life.
Right.
I'll give you $4,000 if you can define it right fucking. And like to a man, I don't think any of them who've said that seriously, not unironically, could. If you ever hear someone say stand-up comedy is the last bastion of free speech, ask them to define the word bastion and then tell me about it, and I'll give you $20. That goes for everyone out there listening. Listen, not to shit on the guy, although I know for personal reasons he deserves it maybe a little bit. I heard Uncle Laser say that. I want you to run that sentence back that I just said. I heard a guy who goes by Uncle Laser say that stand-up comedy was the last bastion of free speech and the most important art form in America. He parrots Bill Burr jokes almost word for word, and his whole bit is that his snakeskin boots are too fire for the world. And I'm not going to say that there's anything wrong with the guy. There's something wrong with the guy acting like or thinking that he is what the future of American thought is.
Yes. I've heard of that person, but I don't know him or know who he is. But the way you described that was very funny. So, I mean, just the name and the boots and everything.
And I acknowledge.
Tells you, well, dude, one of the preeminent he's not a comedian, but one of the preeminent thought leaders on the right is named Cat Turd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's, everyth's so
and,
dumb.
And if you're laughing right now, remember we keep getting beat by him. And
Yeah,
that you're listening to the WellRED podcast and telling us all the time how we are important voices for the future of the country. And on that note, I want to acknowledge a certain amount of what might be perceived as hypocrisy. All right, we had a gentleman come up to us, Lathan. It was great meeting you this weekend, dog. And he was talking about how important we've been to him, just like in making him feel sane because he had to move in with his right-wing in-laws because of a person. Anyway, no, that I get. It's not a situation where I'm trying to say that, like, you're not going to identify with things or the comedians aren't talking about important topics. It's that when people start listening to them as far as like thought leaders for policy, rather than what we do better than a lot of people, I'll acknowledge this, is something you already felt. We said it in a way that is soundbiteable and makes you feel validated. And that is an important job, and some of us are very good at it. And I guess that's what I'm getting at with Rogan or people like him. Even Chappelle. All they're doing is validating people who already hated trans people. They just gave them 2 lines in order to say it.
Right.
Quickly. And to feel like it's okay to say.
Yeah.
That's not thought leadership, dude. That's validation. And when it comes to hate, it's gross.
Yeah. You shouldn't listen to us, but come see me on the road as soon as you possibly can. TraeCrowder.com. I'll be, shitty legs and all. I'll be in the Carolinas this weekend. Charleston, Raleigh, Charlotte, I believe in that order. And then Florida next weekend. And then after that, onwards from there. Drew will be with me in April in Knoxville, and Cho will be with me that same weekend in Chattanooga. So holler at us. All that's at TraeCrowder.com and make a hit. What you got, Drew?
Yeah, I got that show with you the night after. I'll be at Zany's in the lab, which is I think April 12th. And that's it. I don't have anything on the DS. I'm about to go on a little bit of a stand-up sabbatical and then pick it back up heavy in the fall.
Hits. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Pray for Cho's voice and my shitty knees, everybody. Thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew. Skew-wee, fart, butt.
Putting on airs. We might not know much about history. We don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk. drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. We collected from our love of Downton Abbey. We collected, we found out we're both so fancy. Hey, what's the difference between rednecks and royal families? Only money, cause they both have sex with family. Ew. Putting on airs. What other rednecks to talk about foreign affairs? Laughing so hard that we end up falling out our chairs. Sir Trae, Sir Corey, oh what a pair. High class topics with a redneck flair. Oh yeah. Two rednecks but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Two rednecks but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Okay, it's Team Squirrel up Team Trae. Oh yeah, we keeping it basic. He thinks that the squirrels at Corey's mom's house are racist. And you know squirrels live in the same place for generations. So Trae, you better count your days and you better count your blessings. Cause all the squirrels that you ran over, that you think are nameless, faceless, their families are getting together and plotting on you from the attic and basement. So even though Corey is dumb, fat, and bald, he knows how to avoid drama, don't get squirrels involved. Two rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on airs. Two rednecks, but we're still fancy, putting on airs. We might not know much about history, we don't care. We gon' get drunk and we talk about yachts. We gon' get drunk and we gon' talk a lot. Dress real fancy, sit in our chairs, sip on our tea, putting on